India won the series and reclaimed the Border Gavaskar Trophy with a thrilling win in Mohali. To discuss the match with us, we have Rahul Dravid. Welcome, Rahul. Rahul, the first day is washed out. India have lost the toss. They've conceded 400 runs. They have a history of not completing whitewashes when they have the other team down. In keeping all that in mind, to have actually won this match must be really special.
Yeah, it must have been, especially because I thought India sort of retained its intensity and hunger right through the test match and pushed for a win, even though it was only a 4-day test match. The gulf between the two sides is big and has become more and more obvious as the series has gone on. So India are the better side in these conditions without a doubt. But the fact that they kept pushing and they kept going for a win, I think would have given Dhoni and the team management a lot of heart.
You were on the tour to Australia when India lost 4-0. After the match, MS Dhoni was asked to put this win in the context of that tour and whether it was more special keeping that in mind. And Dhoni said that revenge doesn't play any part in sport. Contrastingly, until now his teammate Gautam Gambhir and also his vice captain Gautam Gambhir tweeted about just after the second test finished that, guys, I might not be there, but this is I smell vengeance here, and just make it 4-0. Tell us from your personal experience whether revenge plays any part in elite sport after you have lost so badly.
Well, I think each one has a different motivation, has a different hunger. And different things motivate different people. So what might motivate a Dhoni might not motivate a Gautam Gambhir or someone like me. I mean, it's not really so much about revenge for me. I mean, I don't think you can look upon this as revenge, or I wouldn't individually. I think I would see this as a really good series from India. From a lot of perspectives, from the fact that they've had young people who've come in and performed. A lot of people in the team have performed. They've discovered a couple of 2 or 3 new talents as well. So from all aspects, I think there was a lot that they got or gained from the series so far. I think the real satisfaction for a lot of these boys will come if they can go abroad and maintain these performances. I mean, that was the great motivator for me. The kind of performances that I can put up abroad, or especially for the team that I played in. We came in an era where winning in India, you were expected to. And I think the desire to do well abroad was a huge motivation for that team. This is in some ways a new team transition as well for this team, and one would hope that they would set their goals and their targets about wanting to do well in test series abroad.
One of the architects of this win, of course, I mean, at least this win was a mind unsullied by any emotion of revenge or having lost test matches before. This guy just came in. He just drove what he got to drive, and he kept placing it superbly for an incredibly long period of time. You yourself and Sourav Ganguly made super debuts. Just tell us what the world is like when you're just going through this.
Well, it's relief. It's a huge relief, I must tell you, because at least for me personally it was. When I played 5 years of domestic cricket, it's a tough competition, Indian domestic cricket, especially as a batsman. A lot of people competing. Shikhar Dhawan has played 8 years. 3 years ago, watching his 2 Delhi teammates, Sehwag and Gambhir, in the form of their lives and playing the way they are, and one of the most celebrated opening pairs in the world, he would have thought my chance is never going to come. I'm never going to get a chance to play for India. Today here he is, made a debut and sort of spectacularly announced himself on the world stage. So I think the initial reaction will be one of relief, one of sheer happiness and joy that, look, I achieved a dream, and it's every kid's dream to play for India if you're a cricketer growing up through the ranks, and from that joy and just a relief that I made it count, and I'm not just another one who's played 1 or 2 test matches, but hopefully this gives me a platform to be able to establish myself.
Well, of course, life changes after this. After that, too, bowlers wisen up to you, teams come up with game plans, expectations rise. Just tell us from your experience, if you were to put a lowdown for Shikhar of what to expect.
I think the more and more you play, the more and more difficult it gets, especially initially. The first year, after you've sort of established yourself, sometimes you can get away with a lot of things. But as you keep playing, people keep watching you, bowlers become wiser to your strengths, your weaknesses. You'll start seeing fields change according to your strengths, and areas where earlier you were scoring runs are suddenly being blocked off. So that's from just a pure tactical point of view. Also, I think expectations increase. I think people's expectations of Shikhar Dhawan would have, increased leaps and bounds. His own expectations of himself, the pressure that comes with now being a performer and repeating well. I think it's going to be hard for him to match up to what he did every time. But the expectations will rise, and people will expect a lot more from him.
The other special bit of this chase, this win, is that India went on and chased at about 4 and over on the final evening, and there was also the fourth evening where India took those 3 wickets. There was this intent to go for the win. You've been part of, at least in the last 2 years, you've been part of 2 similar test matches, where first was in Dominica when you couldn't have, or what we thought you couldn't have lost the match, but you gave up the chase. But in the next year at Wankhede, you kept on losing wickets, but you still risked a defeat to just go for the win and ended up with a draw with scores level. And now you finally completed a win going for a tight chase. What has changed, if at all? Is it the lesson learned from Dominica, or is it just the familiarity of the home conditions?
Well, it's the familiarity of the home condition, and also I think in both in Mumbai and in this chase today, you had nothing to lose. I think in Dominica, the series was only 1-0. And if by chance you do lose that test match, then the series become 1-1. So I think teams want to win a series and ensure that the main goal to go on a tour is to win the series, and I think you want to achieve that first. I think in Mumbai, India were already 2-0 up, even if we lost that series, and we kept losing wickets and we kept going for it in Mumbai against the West Indies, knowing fully well also that if you did lose the test match, it was still, it's never okay to lose a test match, but at least lost the series. I think here the situation was a bit similar as well. India knew they're not going to lose the series.
It's been a difficult tour for Clark. If I just ask you to put yourself in the shoes of Michael Clark, would you just look back and say maybe on day 3 when Shikhar Dhawan was scoring all those boundaries, maybe he could have done things differently, and also on the final day?
Look, it's hard. I mean, it's tough for Michael Clark because, like I said earlier, I think he just lacks the, I think captaincy is a lot about your bowling attack and whether it's suited for these conditions. You always look a very good captain when you've got a great bowling attack or an attack that's suited for the conditions. But put the same bowling in some conditions that they're not suited for, or they're not skilled enough to compete in, and it's very hard to set fields to bowling like that. So I'm not really sure too much more that he could have done. I can't see. I mean, he's attacking. Michael Clark likes to attack. He attacks a lot. I thought maybe, if anything, looking back on that sort of couple of sessions that he let the openers run away with it, he could have been a bit more defensive. But again, having said that, it's the first time he got 400 runs in a series, and he's 2-0 down. He wants to try and win. So of course he's going to attack. So look, unfortunately for him, I think he just hasn't had the bowling attack to be able to compete in these conditions.
Finally, going into the final test, we've just found out that Shikhar Dhawan's injury on the knuckle is pretty serious, and he might not make it to the Delhi test. Would you give Ajinkya Rahane a chance to open the innings, or would you go for a specialist opener?
I think Rahane has opened before for Bombay, and I think he deserves his opportunity if and when it does arise. And if Shikhar Dhawan doesn't play, I think it will be a great chance to give a kid who's been averaging over 60 in first class cricket, who's performed at every level that you've asked him to perform. I think it would be prudent to give him a break at this stage. I mean, I think he's deserved it. He's earned it, without a doubt.
Any other changes you would make keeping South Africa in mind, or would you just go flat out for 4-0?
Well, I think they've made quite a few changes already. I think there's quite a few new young guys who've come in. So the guys who are in the team at the moment, I think they would, they're not kind of people who need a break. They're just early on in their careers, a lot of them. So if an opportunity were to open up due to an injury to someone like a Shikhar Dhawan, an unfortunate injury, then I think maybe blooding another youngster at this stage and just seeing what he's got before South Africa might be the only change that I can think of.
Alright then, thank you Rahul for joining us, and we look forward to hearing from you after the final test.
Thanks sir, thank you.